لو كان بعدي نبيا لكان عمر لو عاش إبراهيم لكان صديقا نبيا.
السؤال.
Yes, I understood, but I think in English.
in Arabic for the
right.
السؤال هو لو كان هناك حديث عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول لو كان بعدي نبي لكان عمر، وحديث آخر لو عاش إبراهيم لكان صديقا نبيا. نريد تعليق أمير المؤمنين على هذه الأحاديث.
This is a question which relates to a wide number of ahadith who speak on the same subject of Nabuwwat after. Now here the question is, if we take them one after the other or in separate groups, then we'll never be able to really understand the message of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it is highly important for anyone who is God-fearing to collect all the material, put it together, and in the light of the total message which emerges, form a view or opinion. What is happening nowadays is that some ulama will only concentrate on a certain section or a certain category of ahadith, traditions, and they never speak of others which seem to oppose them. And some, on the other hand, make the mistake of only projecting the ahadith which support a certain view and forget the others. This attitude is condemned in the Holy Quran. It doesn't apply so strongly here, but in case of Jews it was very strong. They willfully put their hands over certain verses which did not suit them and presented only those which suited them. So the ulama against Ahmadiyyat are particularly adopting this attitude, and they will be responsible for any misleading which they do against Ahmadiyyat, and the result of that misleading would be shared by them because they are willfully responsible. Having said that, when it's translated, I'll speak on the issue in a wider perspective.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن هذان الحديثان من مجموعة أحاديث كثيرة تتعلق بالنبوة بعد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم، وهذه الأحاديث لا تؤخذ أفرادا ولا تؤخذ في مجموعات معينة، وإنما يجب أن تؤخذ كلها مع بعضها وتستخرج الصورة من دراسة كل هذه الأحاديث على ضوء ما تفرزه من معنى. العلماء للأسف يأخذون بعض هذه الأحاديث ويركزون عليها ولا يشيرون إلى الأحاديث الأخرى، وغيرهم يأخذ الأحاديث الأخرى ولا يشير إلى الأحاديث السابقة. هذا الأسلوب يرفضه القرآن الكريم وقد أدانه، وإن كان الموضوع ليس بهذه الدرجة، ولكن اليهود كانوا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقدمون بعض الأخبار ويخفون الأخبار الأخرى حتى لأنها تخالف رأيهم وتعارضه. هذا الأسلوب يجب ألا يتبعه العلماء لأنهم اتبعوه وضللوا المسلمين عن أفكار الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية، وهم مسؤولون عن هذا.
It is not أخبار. It is the verses of the Bible which are referred to in the Quran, that when they read the Bible, they put their hand on certain verses and lift the hand from certain other verses.
وثبت من السيرة ومن الحديث الشريف أن اليهود كانوا يخفون الآيات الموجودة في البايبل أو في الكتاب المقدس أو في التوراة، ويعرضون بعض الآيات الأخرى وقد ضبطوا وهم يفعلون ذلك.
Right. Now there are maybe three categories, but I'll speak of them one after the other. But before that, I would like you to understand the meaning of Ba'd. What Ba'd means. Ba'd can be meant in Arabic just opposition or hostility or someone outside or against. Like in the Holy Quran it says, فبأي آيات فبأي حديث بعد آيات الله بعد الله
بأي حديث بعده يؤمنون. هناك آية
I want exact words of the Holy Quran before. Let's nikale. I'll read the verse exactly, which means after Allah and His signs. To my memory, it is بعد الله وآياته.
بأي حديث بعد الله وآياته
يؤمنون. Yes. فبأي حديث بعد الله وآياته يؤمنون. Surah Al-Jasiyah 7:45. Now, what is Ba'd Allah? Can Allah come to an end? Can there be any Ba'd after Allah? So obviously here the word Ba'd means against Allah, outside His instruction. So whatever Allah says, you stick to it, and beyond that, around it, whatever is to be rejected, as against the word of Allah. So Ba'd has this very clear meaning. The second meaning of Ba'd is after one's death. And that is the meaning which is generally emphasized by the ulama with reference to those traditions which I'll refer to later on. Which means after somebody's death, something happens, it is Ba'dahu. And another Ba'd means a temporary departure from some place, and during the absence, something happens. That is also Ba'd. There are three Ba'd which I understand in Arabic. One is one applicable without reference to one's life or something after him. It only means against. The second Ba'd applies to the period after death of some person. The third Ba'd applies to a period during the lifetime of a person, but during his absence. Now, the ahadith which I'll present will have all these three types of Ba'd mentioned. But when you speak of somebody's death and the Ba'd which begins after that, then there has to be a limitation as well, or no limitation. Ba'd can be a limited Ba'd, and Ba'd can also be unlimited, till the doomsday of the Qiyamah. So, in light of all this, now we'll discuss the various categories of hadith.
يقول أمير المؤمنين: سوف نبحث هذه الأحاديث في كافة أشكالها التي تتناول هذا الموضوع، ولكن يجب أولا أن نتفهم معنى كلمة بعد، هذه الكلمة العربية التي لها أكثر من معنى. فبعد تعني المخالفة والمضادة. هناك آية قرآنية تقول: بأي حديث بعد الله وآياته يؤمنون. فليس بعد الله زمن، الله ليس بعده شيء. فالبعدية هنا لا تعني أن يأتي بعده في الزمن، وإنما تعني المخالفة، بأي حديث يخالف ويعارض الله سبحانه وآياته يؤمنون. أما المعنى الثاني لبعد فهي البعدية الزمنية الأبدية التي تكون بعد وفاة الإنسان. إذا مات الإنسان من يأتي بعده هذا بعد زمني مستمر دائم. المعنى الثالث هو البعدية الزمنية المؤقتة، فمثلا في غياب شخص يأتي شخص آخر بعده إلى زمن معين ثم يعود الشخص الأصلي، فهذه بعدية مؤقتة. هذه هي المعاني الثلاث للبعدية أو لمعنى كلمة بعد.
Excellent translation. Now, there are three categories of hadith. One category speaks of there being no prophet whatsoever, where the ulama say it is la nafi jins, la nabi abadi, la nabi abadi. There are so many which speak categorically of there being no nabi of whatever nature after. Now, if you take the word la as nafi jins, which will mean that no sort of prophet, whatever the nature, no prophet can ever come. And that those ahadith which speak generally of la nabi abadi and stop at that, are understood to mean a bad which is badul mustamirrah, which will continue abadan. Forever it will never end. So if that is the meaning, then we must understand that no prophet of whatever nature can ever come after the death or demise of Hazrat Aqdas Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam. There is one meaning of Ba'd and a meaning of a group of traditions which speak of a Ba'd and no Nabi of any sort. But then the problem would come when another hadith of a similar nature speaks categorically of a prophet of God who would come later on, but the Ba'd, the application of the word Ba'd will stop at his appearance. That is with reference to Jesus or Masih Maud, where Hazrat sallallahu alayhi wa sallam predicts the coming of Hazrat Masih Maud or Isa ibn Maryam. He does not say that he will not be a prophet. He does not say that he will be a prophet because he was a prophet before. What he says is, Laysa nabiyyum baini wa bainahu, which means that the word Ba'd is fully described. His coming would be the coming of a prophet Ba'dhu. But what he meant was, no prophet will come after him during the period between him and the appearance of Jesus Christ or Masih Maud.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن الأحاديث التي تتناول النبوة بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، هناك صنف من الأحاديث مثل لا نبي بعدي، ويقول العلماء هنا أن لا نافية للجنس، ويكون المعنى المستنبط أنه لا يمكن أن يأتي نبي بأي وصف بعد النبي بعد وفاة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. وهذا هو المعنى الذي يؤخذ من مثل هذه الأحاديث. ولكن هناك أحاديث أخرى تتحدث عن مجيء نبي بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأخبر الرسول عنه وهو المسيح عندما أخبر بأن المسيح سوف يأتي بعده. إذن نستطيع أن نفهم كلمة بعد الأولى بأنها محددة من الفترة من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى مجيء هذا المسيح. وهذا المسيح أيضا نبي، لم يقل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه لن يكون نبيا أو أنه كان نبيا ولن تكون له نبوة جديدة، ولكن النبي أخبر عنه بأنه ليس نبي بيني وبينه. إذن نبوته ثابتة والبعدية تكون محصورة بين النبي وبينه هو. فعلى ضوء هذا الحديث نفهم أنه ليس نبي بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى أن يأتي المسيح ابن مريم.
Another hadith supports this view very clearly and positively. The view in the sense that Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radiyallahu ta'ala anha understood exactly the same thing from these prophecies of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah, and she once admonished somebody, don't do this, lest people should be misled. What happened was, somebody walking in the street was shouting at the top of his voice, La Nabiyya Ba'dahu, La Nabiyya Ba'dahu. After Muhammad Rasulullah, there will be no prophet of any sort ever to come. Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa heard his voice and said, admonished him. Addressing him, he said, Qulu annahu khatam al-anbiya'i wa la taqulu la nabiyya ba'dahu. Say, he is khatam al-anbiya, but do not say that la nabiyya ba'dahu. Now this is a very interesting understanding because it creates a sort of contradiction between the two. While there cannot be a contradiction between one hadith of Muhammad Rasulullah and another hadith, or hadith and the Holy Quran. Hazrat Aisha was afraid that the meaning of this hadith will be understood which would be contradictory to the word Khatam al-Nabiyyin. And that is why she knew that the man had something in mind which is not supported by the verse Khatam al-Nabiyyin. So in this explanation, she also explained the true meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. If the true meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin in her mind was, there will be never any prophet of whatever sort after Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then she should have said, go on saying it and also read Annahu Khatam al-Nabiyyin. Because they are one and the same thing. But to Hazrat Aisha's mind, the mind of this person contradicts the meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin and creates the impression that Khatam al-Nabiyyin means no prophet of any sort would ever come. That is why she said, don't say that, say that, which is a much wider, a word expression of much wider connotation. After doing this, then I'll tell.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن السيدة عائشة الصديقة رضي الله تعالى عنه قد ألقت ضوءا على هذا الموضوع وأدركت المعنى الحقيقي للآية التي تقول وما محمد إن محمد هو خاتم النبيين ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وأيضا على هذا الحديث لا نبي بعدي. فقد سمعت أحد الناس في الطريق يقول لا نبي بعده لا نبي بعده فأدركت المعنى الخاطئ الذي يجول في ذهنه فقالت قولوا خاتم النبيين ولا
خاتم الأنبياء
قولوا أنه خاتم الأنبياء ولا تقولوا لا نبي بعده. لو كان خاتم الأنبياء تعني لا نبي بعده فما كان لها أن تعترض ولكن هذا الاعتراض يبين أن القرآن يقصد معنى آخر غير لا نبي بعده المعنى المطلق المعنى الذي ينفي النبوة إطلاقا بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهي في نفس الوقت قد وضحت المدلول لمعنى خاتم الأنبياء أو خاتم النبيين أنه لا يعني أبدا أنه لا نبي مطلقا يأتي بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Now some of the Muslim scholars of great renown and which are those who are highly respected, they have discussed this. And they did not reject this hadith as false. They all accepted it. It is very authentic, acceptable, and they know that Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha had become a teacher for the whole ummah, so much so that most of the muhaddithin, non-Shias of course, they agree that we learned half our Islam from Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa. That was the greatness of that great lady. You know, Ummahatul Mu'mineen were all very special ladies, but among them Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa was given such intelligence and such deep understanding of the Quran and Hadith that there is no comparison as far as she is concerned. So they take this Hadith with great respect. The ulama, old, I'm not talking of the present ulama, the old ones. Now they say it is impossible for Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha either to contradict the Hadith or to contradict the Quran. So we must understand what she meant. And she must be true. Some suggest that the meaning is that she was afraid that Jesus Christ, when he comes, he would be rejected on the authority of La Nabiya Ba'd, while he'll come as a prophet. So that is why she mentioned it. Some other scholars have offered a better and more sensible opinion. They said what she meant was that Ba'dahu means nobody against or Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam or outside his Sharia would ever come. That is what she thought. And the word Khatam al-Nabiyyin means that within Sharia of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and obedient to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, a prophet can be born. So she referred to that wider meaning of the word Khatam and tried to remove the misunderstanding by just saying La Nabiya Ba'd. Now these are the two possible options for us. Both options are useful. First, I'll discuss about the option of the Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa meaning that because Jesus is to come, so you cannot say La Nabi Abadi. And the word Ayat Khatam Nabiyyin is not against the coming of any other prophet like Jesus Christ. They are the two meanings which emerge from this.
يوضح أمير المؤمنين أن كثيرا من العلماء المشهورون المحترمون على علم كبير بحثوا هذا الحديث عن السيدة عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها ولم يرفضوا هذا الحديث وإنما أخذوا به واعتبروه حديثا صحيحا وهم يقدرون ما للسيدة عائشة من ذكاء وفهم وهناك ما يشير إلى أن نصف ديننا نأخذه من هذه السيدة الفاضلة العالمة التي كانت تتميز بهذا العلم وقالوا أنه لا يمكن أن يتعارض قولها مع القرآن ولا يمكن أن يتعارض قولها مع الحديث الشريف ولذلك استنبط أو أرادوا أن يستنبطوا المعنى الصحيح للآية خاتم النبيين ولا نبي بعده فقالوا أنه لا يأتي نبي يخالف نبوة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو يخرج عنها هذا معنى وصل إليه العلماء الذين نظروا للموضوع نظرة جيدة أما العلماء السابقون فإنهم قالوا أن السيدة عائشة خشيت أنه عندما يأتي
العلماء أخرى the second group of علماء
نعم نقول الرأي الأول وهو العلماء الذين برروا هذا القول للسيدة عائشة من أنها خشيت أنه عندما يأتي المسيح فإنه يرفض بناء على حديث لا نبي بعدي ولذلك أصرت على القول بأنه خاتم النبيين ووضحت هذا المعنى بعض العلماء الآخرون وصلوا إلى معنى أفضل شيئا من ذلك عندما قالوا أن البعدية هنا لا نبي بعدي أي يخالف شريعتي أو يخالف ما جئت من أجله وهذا يعني أن النبوة التابعة للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في طاعته وفي اتباع خطواته ليس هناك ما يخالفها في قول النبي ولا في القرآن الكريم.
Now let's turn back to the first explanation, that she was afraid that people may reject him, Jesus Christ, when he comes again, by just listening to such traditions as say, La Nabi Abada. But at the same time, she was confident that just by referring to Ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin, people will not reject Hazrat Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. So the two messages are very different which she received from these two. She was afraid that when you say La Nabi Abadahu, people may reject Jesus Christ by understanding the meaning that no prophet can ever come. But if you just read Khatam al-Nabiyyin, it does not mean that no prophet of any sort would ever come. So if you read it, then this verse would never stand in the way of Jesus Christ appearing as a prophet. But Hadith La Nabi Abadahu would stand in the way of Jesus Christ as being accepted as a prophet. So that opens a new avenue of the understanding of the verse Khatam al-Nabiyyin. It's a beautiful expression. So after you have translated this, I'll turn to the second option.
إذا تأملنا في المعنى الأول لقول السيدة عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها من أنها خشيت عندما يأتي عيسى ابن مريم فإنه يرفض بناء على الحديث الذي يقول لا نبي بعدي في نفس الوقت فهمت أنها إذا آمن الناس بأن محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم هو خاتم النبيين فإن هذا لا يقف في طريق مجيء سيدنا عيسى نبيا بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. إذن هي الآن فتحت لنا بابا عظيما من الفهم والتأمل لهذه الأحاديث مع الآية القرآنية وهذا يدل فعلا على إدراكها وفهمها لهذه المعاني.
Have you said that part, that Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa clearly understood that verse Khatam al-Nabiyyin will never be taken to mean that no prophet can ever come after.
نعم أنا وضحت هذا بأن هي فهمت من آية خاتم النبيين أنها لا تقف في طريق سيدنا عيسى كنبي يأتي بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
نعم. Now the second proposition is, the proposal is that what she had in mind was the meaning of Ba'd. She thought, and she was afraid, that the Ba'd may be taken to apply to the age, time after death. And if this is taken to mean this, then Jesus Christ will never be accepted, because he will appear after. So some ulama, very highly, deeply intelligent ulama, have suggested that this is the meaning she must have had in mind, that the word Ba'd only means against him, outside the Ummah Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So Ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin also speaks of the same thing, that Hazrat Muhammad Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the last of the lawbringer and the best of the prophets. So no prophet can ever come who is not subordinate to him, who is not exactly within the four walls of the Quranic teaching and the domain of Muhammad Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sayings. So if the word Ba'd means against him, then in the light of Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha's observation, the meaning would be, according to her, Ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin means no prophet would ever come outside the domain of Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam and his Sharia, but it can come within his Sharia and subordinate to it. And because she thought Jesus Christ would fulfill these two conditions, so she said just the reference to Ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin would not do any harm. Right?
المعنى الثاني أو الرأي الثاني الذي ارتآه العلماء أنه ربما كان في ذهن السيدة عائشة أن كلمة بعد تعني البعدية المطلقة، أي بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يأتي أي نبي، وهذا يغلق الباب أمام مجيء سيدنا عيسى أو المسيح الموعود. وهؤلاء العلماء رأوا أن البعدية إذا فهمت بأنها المخالفة أو المعارضة أو الخروج عن نطاق الدعوة المحمدية، فإن هذا يحقق المعنى الذي ارتأته السيدة عائشة. فمعنى ذلك من البعدية هذه أن أي إنسان يأتي لابد أن يكون داخل الجدران الأربعة للقرآن الكريم وللدعوة النبوية المحمدية تماما، وفي هذه الحال لا يكون مخالفا، وفي هذه الحال لا تكون البعدية هي البعدية المطلقة. وهذا هو الذي حدا بالسيدة عائشة أن تفضل أن نقول خاتم الأنبياء ولا نقول لا نبي بعده، حتى لا يفهم المعنى الآخر وهو البعدية المطلقة.
No. Now, there is one last observation on the same thing. Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha spoke of this hadith, but did not mention anywhere the coming of Jesus Christ. It is only a suggestion made by some ulama. Why should we limit the application of her observation only to Jesus Christ? There is no reason. If she had clearly that in mind, she could have said that. She could have said that because Jesus is going to come, so don't say this and say that. This is the general understanding, without reference to any person. It's a matter of principle. So we must understand this hadith as a matter of principle. The principle which emerges is simply this, that the verse Khatam al-Nabiyyin requires that no prophet can ever be born who is outside the pale of the Holy Quran and outside the pale of the traditions, and who is not completely subordinate to Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and who would be subordinate and inferior to him in rank and status, because the Khatam is only one, that is Muhammad Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So whatever status he will get through him, through the Master. This is the meaning which emerges, and this is what we should stick to. because the name of Jesus is only suggested by some ulama. It is never taken by Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن هناك ملاحظة تتعلق بهذا الموضوع، أن السيدة عائشة عندما قالت قولها هذا لم تشر فيه لا من قريب ولا من بعيد بمجيء المسيح، ولكن هذا كان استنباطا من العلماء الذين أرادوا أن يربطوا بين قولها هذا وبين الآية وبين الحديث، فوصلوا إلى هذا المعنى. وإن كان هذا المعنى صحيح إلا أن المعنى العام هو الذي كانت تقصده السيدة عائشة، وهو أنه إذا أتى أحد بعد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فإنه يكون تابعا خاضعا مستمدا منه داخل إطار دعوته لا يخرج عنه قيد أنملة، فهو النبي الخاتم، فهو خاتم الأنبياء، وهو السيد، وهو الأصل الذي يؤخذ منه بعد ذلك. هذا هو المعنى العام المراد.
Another fine point which I must point out is very important in relation to our controversy on the meaning of Ba'd, which is going on for quite some time between us and the other ulama, particularly from India, Pakistan, etc. You see, then they have no way out when we point to them that, look here, you believe that there is la nafi jins, which means no type of prophet can ever come. At the same time, you open the door for an old prophet, Jesus Christ, to come again and appear in the world as a prophet of God. And you can't say he would not be a prophet, because the hadith of Muslim would point out that most certainly he would be a prophet. And again, the principle that once a prophet is raised to the prophethood, a person is raised to the status of prophethood, that office is never taken back from him. So in light of this, it is impossible for you to say Jesus would not be a prophet. So when we point out this, they try to wriggle out of this dilemma by suggesting that the word Ba'd means no one will be raised as a prophet after him. But anyone who has already been made a prophet earlier, he may come and go. You know, they open the door not through the khatam, but around the khatam. This is bypassing, you know. Nowadays in the cities, you see, if you don't want to go through the city, you go around it. So what a beautiful bypass is created by these mullahs. That old one will be brought back, no problem. But prophet there would be after him. Now, Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha seems to have rejected this concept, blocked this bypass forever. Because if this Ba'd was not against the coming of Jesus Christ, he should not have rejected it at all. She should have said, don't think that Jesus would not come because he was an old prophet, and the Ba'd only applies to the creation of new prophets. So this is a very positive proof that our understanding, which is of course very logical, was also the understanding of Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu ta'ala anha, and these mullahs have, gone boko, as they say.
هناك نقطة لطيفة أخرى تتعلق بكلمة بعد ومعانيها والجدل الذي يجري بين الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية وبين العلماء في باكستان وفي غيرها من الأماكن. فهم إذا فهموا أنه لا نبي بعدي، لا نفي للجنس، أنه لن يأتي بعد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم أي نوع من الأنبياء مهما كان، ولكن هناك الأحاديث الذي يؤكد أن عيسى سوف ينزل وسوف يكون نبيا طبقا للأحاديث الصحيحة. فهم يتهربون من هذه المشكلة بأن يقولوا لا، ليس بعد النبي إنسان يرفع إلى مرتبة النبوة، وإنما النبي القديم الذي لا تزول عنه النبوة ويبقى حاملا لها يمكن أن يأتي إلى الدنيا بنبوته ويرجع مرة أخرى. هذا باب لا يأتي عن طريق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، لا يمر إلى النبوة من خلال المصطفى وخاتميته للنبوة، وإنما يدور حولها ويأتي بنبوته. هذا المعنى أقفلت السيدة عائشة الباب عليه وقالت لا، قولوا إنه خاتم الأنبياء، لأنه لا يأتي أحد إلا من خلال ختم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم النبوة، سواء أكان قبله في الزمن أو بعده في الزمن.
And then they have to admit ultimately what we suggest. They say no, and then they have to admit. We say, all right, he would come again, as you say, bypassing the Khatamiyat. What will he do? Will he not be a prophet? If he will be a prophet, then prophecy there would be, of course. God would speak with him, and he would continue to live as a prophet. The last man on earth you will see as a prophet would be Jesus Christ. They say, okay, but that will be all right, because he will enter the Ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and accept Islam as his faith, and will continue to preach Islam and nothing but Islam. So he will meet two important conditions. Number one, he will accept the Quranic law and the word of the Muhammad Rasulullah sallam as the only valid coin for the future in religion. And he will subordinate to him and become a part of the Ummah. These two conditions, when met, do not declare him to be outside the meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. If somebody fulfills these two conditions, he does not have to break the seal of the Prophet to claim to be Prophet. This is they accept. There is no other way out. Once you consider that, this is exactly what we say. We say the word Khatam means no prophet can come outside Islam, outside the domain of the Quran, outside the domain of hadith. And he has to be a subordinate prophet to Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So ultimately they make Jesus something of this, fulfilling these requirements, and they push him into the Ummah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from outside and make him fulfill these conditions. When we present these conditions, they say you are against the meaning of Khatam al-Nabiyyin. When they want to create a prophet, they bring it from outside and make changes into him and make him forcibly enter the Ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallam, while the Holy Quran would never permit it to happen. It will continue to read, Rasulan ila Bani Israel, Rasulan ila Bani Israel. So after and Torah, the prophet of Torah, who would read Torah and deduct from Torah. So where will the Quran go? If he comes from outside and he is made to do Bay'ah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam through Imam Mahdi or whatever means, and becomes a part so that the objection of Khatamiyat is removed, then what about these verses? He would say, I'll only teach the Quran. The Holy Quran says, no, you must teach Torah as well. You must teach the book of Moses. And you must claim that you have not come to fulfill, to cancel, but to fulfill. You must continue. And when he'll say, O Ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah sallam, I am a prophet to you. They will say, shall we accept your word or the word of the Quran? The Quran says you are a prophet of Bani Israel. So go to Bani Israel, go to Jerusalem, don't enter Mecca and Medina, because it is the Quranic verdict. How would you resolve this dilemma? That is the problem.
ولو تصورنا أن سيدنا عيسى النبي السابق جاء إلى الدنيا بنبوته، ألن يتلقى وحيا جديدا من الله سبحانه وتعالى ويتعلم الشريعة الإسلامية وهذه الأشياء؟ أليس هذه نبوة جديدة؟ لأنه يتعلم ويتلقى وحيا جديدا كما أخبر الحديث النبوي الشريف. على أي حال هم يرون أن هذا لا يتعارض مع خاتم النبوة إذا توفر فيه شرطان. الشرط الأول أنه يقبل بشريعة محمد ويقبل القرآن ويقبل بما جاء به النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. الشرط الثاني أن يكون خاضعا للنبي، لا يخرج عنه ولا يغير شيئا جاء به النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. إذا انطبق عليه هذان الشرطان فإنه لا يكسر ختم النبوة. وهذا ما تقوله الجماعة الإسلامية الأحمدية، أن المسيح الذي أسس هذه الجماعة ينطبق عليه هذان الشرطان، أنه خاضع، أنه جاء بشريعة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وبالقرآن، وأنه لا يخرج عنها قيد أنملة، وأنه خاضع للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولكن هم يفضلون أن يأتوا بنبي من الخارج. هذا النبي من الخارج يقول القرآن عنه إنه نبيا لبني إسرائيل، وهو يأتي نبيا لأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. فهل يمكن أن يقول لها أنا نبي لأمة محمد والقرآن يحدد أنه نبيا إلى بني إسرائيل؟ هو سيأتي ليحكم بشريعة القرآن وبآداب وأخلاق وتعاليم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، بينما القرآن يبين أنه سيعمل بالتوراة وعليه أن يتبع التوراة. فكيف سنوفق بين هذه الأمور؟ هل سيكون نبيا لبني إسرائيل أم إلى أمة محمد؟ بالتوراة أم عاملا بالقرآن وتعليم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم؟ لماذا هذا التناقض؟ لماذا لا بد أن نأتي بنبي من خارج الأمة ونخلقه هكذا خلقا ونصطنعه اصطناعا، بينما القرآن لا يسمح بذلك؟
So there are only two options left to us: either to accept the concept of someone born in the Ummah of Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, raised right from the beginning as subordinate to Hazrat Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Quran, and raised to the status of Masih or Al-Mahdi as subordinate prophet. That is one option which is open to us. Or to bring someone old one and forcibly make him enter the Ummah and then fulfill these two conditions. But the problem would be, a prophet of Allah does not learn the Sharia from non-prophets. He learns the Sharia directly from God. So that is what he has already mentioned. Then Jesus Christ would have to learn all the Sharia again from Allah, and the whole Holy Quran will have to be revealed to him. Because except God, nobody teaches the religion to his prophets. And again, the contradiction which will be created between the Quran and the new prophet Jesus Christ would continue to create problems. Nobody can solve them. Two problems of the contradiction, as I have already mentioned. Now I'll bring that to close by pointing again at them. One problem, the Quran will continue to read that Jesus must follow the teaching of Torah and must make his inferences from the book of Moses. Nowhere he is mentioned to have been permitted by Allah to infer from the Quran. Second option, this problem would be that the Quran speaks of him only as a prophet addressing the house of Israel. And he has no right, according to the Quran, to address the Ummah of Muhammad Rasulullah. So when the Qaris will read these two things, what will Muslims do? You know, that is the problem. Follow the Quran or follow Isa, and Isa who contradicts the Quran. You see, instead of breaking one verse only of Khatam al-Nabi, he'll break so many.
يلخص أمير المؤمنين هذا الموقف ويقول أننا الآن أمام واحد من اختيارين: إما أن نقبل بوجود شخص من أمة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ينشأ خاضعا للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ويتربى على القرآن ويتربى على حديث وسنة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ويرفع إلى درجة المسيحية ودرجة النبوة أو المهدوية، أو نأتي بشخص آخر، هذا الاحتمال الثاني، نأتي بشخص آخر خارج الأمة الإسلامية ويأتي ليتعلم الشريعة الإسلامية وطبعا لا يمكن أن يتعلم الشريعة في مدرسة أو على يد إنسان آخر، وإنما يتعلم الشريعة من الله سبحانه وتعالى، فهذا وحي جديد ونبوة جديدة لم تكن له من قبل. على أي حال لو أن هذا قد تم فإن الأمة ستواجه كثيرا من المتناقضات. نذكر منها على سبيل المثال أننا سنقرأ في القرآن أن هذا الرجل تابع لشريعة سيدنا موسى، تابع للتوراة، بينما هو يحكم فينا بالقرآن، فكيف يتم هذا؟ كيف نوفق بين هذين الأمرين؟ سنقرأ في القرآن أنه نبي لبني إسرائيل، ولا يجوز لنبي من أمة أن يذهب إلى أمة أخرى، فكيف سيكون نبيا للأمة الإسلامية؟ وربما توجد أمور أخرى كثيرة، ولكن هذه التعارضات ستبقى قائمة ما دام هذا الشخص خارج الأمة الإسلامية ولم ينشأ على القرآن ولم ينشأ على سنة المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم.
A little correction. If we conceive the scenario of the Holy Quran being revealed to him, as you said it would mean a new Sharia. This is not right. It will not be a new Sharia, but it will be the same Sharia of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah Sallam being revealed to him totally, entirely once again. That is what you should clarify.
نوضح هذه النقطة أنه عندما يأتي ليحكم بالإسلام معنى ذلك أنه بشريعة القرآن، ومعنى ذلك أن يوحى إليه القرآن كله مرة أخرى، ليست هناك شريعة جديدة وإنما شريعة القرآن يتعلمها وهي ليست بلغته ولم ينشأ عليها، فكأنه وحي له جديد.
So another type of the ba'd is when somebody lives and the word ba'd is applied. So that also is applicable to the situation. We can't forget such traditions. Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam once left Medina for a ghazwa and appointed Hazrat Ali radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu as the Amir of Medina. So he said, Anta minni bi manzilati Harun No, hadith. Anta minni bi manzilati Harun min Musa. You are to me like Harun was to Moses. But he was not you are not a prophet. Badi, the word badi is used here. That you are not a prophet, badi. Now this obviously refers to the event when Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam went for 40 days, first 30 days and then 10 were added, 40 days to meet God for certain messages. And behind him he appointed Hazrat Harun as his deputy. So Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that although you are very close to me, as close as Harun was to Moses, that love is of course acceptable, but don't think you will become a prophet in my absence. La Nabiya Badi here means Ba'd of that 40 days or whatever period it took. So it also means a Ba'd during the lifetime of somebody, and it ends within the lifetime of somebody. That means during the lifetime of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam there will be no other prophet. That is established this meaning. So we have covered this type as well.
المعنى الآخر أو المعنى الثالث لكلمة بعد هي البعدية المؤقتة أو البعدية أثناء غياب الشخص المتحدث. فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خرج في إحدى الغزوات وعين سيدنا علي رضي الله تعالى عنه أميرا على المدينة، وقال له أنت مني بمنزلة هارون من موسى غير أنه لا نبي بعدي. نحن نعرف أن سيدنا موسى وهارون كانا نبيان من بني إسرائيل، وأنه عندما ذهب سيدنا موسى ليتلقى الوحي طلب من أخيه هارون أن يخلفه في قومه فترة غيابه، وكان نبيا في نفس الوقت. فحتى نبعد هذا المعنى أو يبتعد هذا المعنى عن ذهن سيدنا علي أو عن ذهن أي إنسان آخر، أخبر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنك نعم قريب مني وحبيب إلي كما كان هارون حبيبا وقريبا من موسى، غير أنك لست نبيا كما كان هارون نبيا، أنت فقط تخلفني في المدينة ولكنك لست نبي. فهنا معنى البعدية خلال الفترة التي يغيبها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خارج المدينة في هذه الغزوة. ويمكن على هذا الأساس أن يفهم معنى حديث لا نبي بعدي، أي لا نبي أثناء وجود النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كان متغيبا في مكان أو في آخر لأداء عمل من الأعمال، وليس البعدية المطلقة بعد وفاته صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Now I turn to that category of ahadith which you mentioned. You mentioned two ahadith. Would you kindly repeat them? One is Hazrat Umar.
الحديثان هما لو كان بعدي نبي لكان عمر، وأيضا لو عاش إبراهيم لكان صديقا نبيا.
Yes. You see, this hadith is supported about Umar by another hadith and explains the meaning. It says that Lo lam ubas la boista ya Umar, which means that if there was any person outside me, bad here means any person beyond me, who was to be made a prophet, it could be Umar. And this meaning is fully supported by the second version of the hadith, which says, Lo lam ubas, if I were not raised a prophet, then Umar would have been raised as a prophet. You understand? This meaning is very clear.
In this case, this means غيري.
غيري. Here, bada means غيري. Exactly. Now the second hadith which you mentioned,
لو عاش إبراهيم لكان صديقا نبيا.
This decides the issue once and forever. There is a very clear, instruction of Hazrat Muhammad which throws light on the issue and removes all ambiguities. Hazrat Rasul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the one to whom ayat Khatam al-Nabiyyin was revealed. He must have understood the meaning better than anyone else. He is the one, again, who said, La Nabiyya Badi. So he understood the meaning of Badi himself better than anybody else. This hadith tells us that the meaning of Badi, whenever he used it, was in fact the meaning that nobody against him, nobody outside his subordination, nobody outside his ummah will ever be raised. Otherwise, subordinate to him within his ummah, if Allah so decides, a person can be raised to the office of prophet. This is what I infer from this, and I am going to explain it with reference to the opinions of some other ulama as well.
نأتي الآن إلى الحديثين اللذين ذكرتهما. الحديث الأول لو كان بعد نبي لكان عمر.
No, she said.
This is the hadith which she said, yes. لو كان بعد نبي لكان.
That's right, yes.
هذا الحديث هناك حديث آخر يسانده ويؤيده ويفسر معناه. هذا الحديث قاله أمير المؤمنين لو لم أبعث لبعث
يا عمر.
لبعث أو لبعثت يا عمر. هذا الحديث يبين أن كلمة بعدي يعني غيري، يعني خلافي، ليس أنا، وإنما يكون شخص آخر. لو كان هناك شخص آخر البعدية. أما الحديث الثاني لو عاش إبراهيم لكان صديقا نبيا، فإن هذا الحديث وضح المسألة توضيحا وأزال كل ما فيه من غموض. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم هو الذي نزل عليه القرآن، وهو الذي يفهم أفضل من غيره معنى خاتم النبيين، وهو نفسه القائل لا نبي بعدي، ومع ذلك قال لو عاش إبراهيم لكان صديقا نبيا. فيفهم من هذا أنه عندما يقول بعدي لا نبي بعدي أي أنه ليس هناك من يخرج عن شريعتي، من يخرج عن رسالتي، من يخرج عن تبعيته لي. وبالطبع إبراهيم هو ابنه وهو تابع له وهو خاضع له، وكل هذه الشروط متوفرة فيه.
علماء
بمعنى أنه لو جاء أحد من الأمة الإسلامية لابد أن تنطبق عليه هذه الشروط.
Ulama have discussed this. Again, like they discussed the hadith reported by Hazrat Aisha Siddiqa radhiyallahu anha. And they, of course, all agree that there cannot be any contradiction between what Muhammad Rasulullah Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam said about one thing in one place and said something else in another place about the same thing. That it is impossible for impossible for any contradiction to be between his two sayings at different times.
Some ulama, when they notice that there is a contradiction, take one of the two hadiths.
I'll come to that. You see, you have to accept a principle. It is said, but after you have translated, then I'll also bring it into my...
Yes, sir.
Right. Now they say, those who accept the hadith and try to remove the contradiction, some of them say that this is the reason why God made the son of Muhammad Rasulullah die at an early age, lest he should become a prophet of God. This is one suggestion. If that was the case, then even then Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could not have said what he said. He should have said that even if this boy had lived forever, he could not become a prophet of God because God has told me, La Nabiyya Ba'di, no Nabi can ever come after me. So if that was the meaning in his mind of La Nabiyya Ba'di, he could never have said this. And there was no reason for God to have him killed to make him die at early age. You see, how can one forcibly take Nabuwwat from God? Can anyone do that? If Nabuwwat was finished, like they say, in every respect, even the subordinate prophets can never come, then the Hazrat Ibrahim, the son of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, could pose no danger to Nabuwwat. Impossible for him. He was just an ordinary servant of Allah. If Allah had decided never to give Nabuwwat to anyone else, he could have refused to, decided not to appoint him as prophet of God. How could he forcibly take it from Allah? So Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam can never say such a thing. He was the wisest of human beings ever born, and of all the people yet to be born. So the meaning of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam should be understood with wisdom. Now take the scenario again. If a child is born and he knows that Allah has told him there will be no prophet after him, what can he say? He say, let him live. Let him live even for 1,000 years. He will be a prophet, good man. He would be Siddiq, but less than Nabi, because La Nabiyya Ba'di. He doesn't say that. So that is why some other scholars, very wise scholars of old people, of olden periods, have said, rejected this concept. It is rubbish to attribute this thing to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Is nonsensical. We will never accept this. What Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said meant when he said La Nabiyya Ba'di, they say this hadith tells us all he had in mind was that no prophet will ever be made who is against me, who is outside my ummah, and who is not subordinate to me. And because his son Abraham, if he had lived long enough, he could only be subordinate to him and within his ummah. So for him to become a prophet is neither against La Nabi Abadi nor against Khatam Nabiyyin. This is what older ulama have already suggested. And yet when we say the same thing with reference to this hadith, ulama say you are outside the pale of Islam. There is no justice in that.
يقول أمير المؤمنين أن هذين الحديثين قد درسهما العلماء السابقون، وهم يعترفون جميعا أنه إذا قال النبي شيئا في موضوع وقال عنه شيئا آخر فإنه لا تعارض ولا خلاف بين أقوال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في الأمر الواحد. ولذلك رأى بعضهم أن سيدنا إبراهيم ابن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى الله عليه وسلم عملا بحديث لا نبي بعدي. يقول أمير المؤمنين هل هؤلاء الناس يتصورون أن سيدنا إبراهيم لو كان عاش سوف يغتصب النبوة من يد الله تعالى؟ كيف يستطيع أن يأخذها منه لو أنه عاش؟ فهذه فكرة ساذجة وفكرة سخيفة تدل على عدم فهم لهذا الموضوع. سيدنا إبراهيم لو كان عاش لكان نبيا خاضعا لنبوة المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم، وهذا هو المعنى الذي يجب أن يفهم من هذا الحديث. فهناك علماء آخرون، علماء عقلاء يفهمون هذا المعنى، ولذلك رفضوه رفضا باتا وقالوا أن ما يفهم من لا نبي بعدي على ضوء هذا الحديث جاء نبي حتى لإبراهيم فإنه يكون تابعا وخاضعا لنبوة المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم ليس خارجا عليها. فهذا الحديث يوضح أكثر هذا المعنى.